Hey there, everybody. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Ranking the Studio Albums. Today, I have decided to tackle the immense discography of Alice Cooper. Man, I think I bit off more than I can chew. You know, I've always said that I tend to stay away from bands who have a ridiculously large discography. And I would say Alice, this is bordering on as much as I'm going to do. I even going through this whole trying to figure this one out, I'm like, God, why did I decide to do this? I love a lot of these albums. Don't get me wrong, but like trying to put them in some kind of order is just like totally ridiculous. So if I know a lot of people are screaming for a lot of bands that have bigger discographies than this, now you know the reason why I'm shying away from it, right? Because it's just it's hard, especially if you really love an artist or a group, all right, who have a lot of really strong albums. It's hard to kind of hard to separate them. Like, you know, the top half of this list was not hard at all. It's the lower half of, you know, some solid, good, mediocre albums that is kind of hard to differentiate between them. But I did the best I could. So you know how it goes. I'm going to start off from the bottom. I'm going to work my way up to the top. I'd urge everybody to think about doing the same thing. If you can't tackle the whole discography, and I wouldn't be upset if you couldn't, do your top 10 albums. That's probably what I should have just done, is do the top 10 or top 20 or whatever. But I wanted to tackle the whole discography and see how it came out. So list yours below. Let us know which ones you like. Remember, we all hear things differently, so some of the ones that I'm maybe not as keen with, some of you are going to love, and that's totally cool that it turns out that way, because that's the way it should be, right? These things are all different, right? And you can't see it. There we go. All of us have different ones, all right? We hear things and digest things differently, so some of the ones I may not love, you guys may, and some of the ones you guys love, I may not, right? So that's the way it should be. That's what music is all about, people. So, all right, starting off at the bottom, I've never really taken to this album. I would say, you know, this one, it's not that there aren't a couple of interesting songs on here, but I never really took to Dada. I don't know. You know, this is, for me, a really weird period of Alice, those early 80s albums. I'm not huge into any of them. I don't dislike any of them, but I'm not like, they just don't grab me. And it's kind of weird hearing Alice do that kind of like, it's kind of like this weird kind of new wavy punk thing. I don't know. It's very kind of cold sounding. Not a lot of guitar muscle. I'm not sure what it is. I've never been able to put my finger on it, but I just don't find the immediacy in a lot of those albums for whatever reason. Zipper Catch Your Skin is another one. It's going to come in next. Again, don't dislike it. Not in love with it. All right. All right, next up, I'm going to go, you know, there's probably a lot of people who love this album, and that's totally cool. You know, this is psychedelic Alice Cooper group. All right. Not quite sure what they want to be yet, or a pretty decent garage, noisy garage band, but, you know, pretty's for you. You know, this was on Zappa's label. All right. You know, it's okay. It's a fun listen, but I don't reach for this too often, but I can understand how, you know, some people would probably really dig it and do. Next up, Dirty Diamonds. Forgive this absolutely beat to shit copy. I actually bought this used for like $1 or less, and it's, I mean, look at this thing. Look at this. I don't know where I got this from. I probably got it from like a Salvation Army store or something like that. I don't know, whatever, wherever I got it from, I don't remember. I probably should upgrade to a better copy, because this is just like falling apart at the seams. Anyway, not a bad album, Dirty Diamonds. You know, of all his more recent ones, yeah, maybe one of the least successful, but still some really good tunes on here. You know, Zombie Dance, Woman of Mass Destruction. You know, what else? The title track is actually really good. A very solid album. Okay, probably could rank a little higher. Okay, you know, a few of the later, there's just so much. He's got so many albums. It's some of the later ones, some of them I might not have given enough love to over the years. That could be one of them. Special Forces is going to be next. You know, one of the better from that period, the early 80s. Okay. Of course, Alice looking quite anorexic. You know, he was involved in all sorts of not good extracurricular stuff around this time. But solid album. Okay, The Eyes of Alice Cooper is going to come next. Pretty solid latter period album from him. in the group. All right. All right, next up I'm going to go with Flush the Fashion. Again, like it, don't love it. Leather Boots, Talk, Nuclear Infected. You know, some solid tunes on here. Kind of a weird album, though. It's like a lot of those Alice albums are weird from that period. I'm sorry, I know I keep saying it, but that's just the way I feel. Constrictor next. Some cool stuff from the 80s. Alice during the rage of all the commercial hard rock and metal, right? The MTV years, all right? I'm not going to use that H term. I know, I hate it. Everybody hates it, right? Teenage Frankenstein, though. Thrill My Gorilla. Crawlin'. Simple Disobedience. A fun album for what it is, right? All right, next up I'm going to go with the most recent, Paranormal. This is a fun album. I like this. I wish it was a little longer. This is kind of like kind of a short album for me, but title track is great. Fireball, Paranoiac Personality, Dynamite Road, Rats. It's good. Very solid. Good to see him play a couple of those tunes on the recent tour also. All right, how about Lace and Whiskey next? Solid late 70s album. Not great. Pretty damn solid. Some good tunes. Road Rats, It's Hot Tonight, King of the Silver Screen. You know, again, Alice kind of trying to figure out what the hell to do, where to fit in musically around that time. That trend would kind of continue for a few years. All right, next up, Raise Your Fist and Yell. I like this album. This is a good kind of commercial headbanging album from the 80s. I always kind of dig it. Prince of Darkness, Give the Radio Back, Lock Me Up, Freedom. I always thought that the kind of the cover art is it's that kind of album. It's one of those kind of raise your fist in the air, get into it, 80s headbanging stuff, right? I like it. All right. Welcome to My Nightmare. All right, the sequel. I thought this was well done. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, I can't believe he's going to go there. It's kind of like Meatloaf doing Bad Out of Hell 2. But I thought, you know what, maybe not a lot of ties to the original, and did it really need to? I don't know. But I think, you know, The Nightmare Returns, Last Man on Earth, I'll Bite Your Face Off is a fun tune. Ghouls Gone Wild, What Baby Wants is a ridiculously catchy tune. Caffeine's okay. I Am Made of You I like. I don't know. I enjoyed the hell out of this when it came out, and I still kind of dig it. All right, so what makes it difficult, and sometimes when you're doing these, is when you have these like kind of like you buy these collection sets, right? So you know, and then you're like, oh my god, so I've got these 3 discs that are in one set. How do I kind of? So what? I'm kind of cheating a little bit here, guys. So forgive me, but so here I got this set that has Trash, Hey Stupid, and The Last Temptation. Okay, all pretty damn good albums, I think. So rather than try to just make this even longer and worse than it already is for me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep them together, but I'm going to tell you the order that I like these 3. So I actually like Hey Stupid the best out of these 3 albums. So that one's going to come in after Welcome to My Nightmare. Then I'm going to go with The Last Temptation, which is a very strong album, and then Trash. I always like Trash, one of his biggest selling albums of the modern era, but I think it's really good. You know, some great tunes on here, you know? Hey Stupid, Feed My Frankenstein, right? Sideshow, Stolen Prayer, House of Fire. Of course, you know, you've got Poison, the huge hit. 3 very good albums, I think. Okay, so that's how I'm going to go there. So Hey Stupid, Last Temptation, and Trash. All right, next up, we're going to go Along Came a Spider. Another of the more recent releases, last like 20 years or so, that I think is pretty damn solid. All right. Always dug that cover. Creepy as all hell. I think Alice was doing a good job of capturing the kind of macabre stuff of the 70s here on a couple of these albums. I dig it. Next up, I'm going to go with another early one, Easy Action. I actually like this a lot better than Pretty's For You. The band's still kind of having that kind of garage rock thing going on, but I think this is moving a little bit more towards the kind of the hard rock stuff that they were doing, starting with the next album. All right. Band's got the look down too. I like that. All right, you ready to go to hell? Alice is going to hell. Alice Cooper Goes to Hell. One of those albums I think that suffers from a few weak tracks, but a couple songs that are absolutely spectacular. You know, for the title track alone, this one has to rank fairly high. Guilty, you know, Wish You Were Here, Give the Kid a Break, I'm the Coolest, You Gotta Dance. Good late 70s Alice Cooper album. All right, here's another example. We got a two-in-one set, but I always lump these two albums together anyway because I like them just about equally. These are my two favorites from the more recent albums of the last couple decades, right? So next on the list is going to be Dragon Town, followed by Brutal Planet. These are both very, very strong. This is Alice and the band kind of doing their nu metal thing, sort of, but I think it really works. These are both very heavy albums. They're well produced. They sound great. They're catchy. A lot of great riffs going on here. Alice singing spectacularly. I'm a big fan of these two albums. I think you can't go wrong. If you're someone who hasn't really listened to any Alice Cooper past like early, mid, late 80s, and you missed all these last 10 or so releases he's done in the 90s and the 2000s, I would highly recommend both of these. Dragon Town and Brutal Planet. Let me see if we got the cover art here, just so you guys know what you're looking for. I don't think so. That's kind of sucky, right? No cover art? No, nothing. Hold on. Nothing. Wow, that's pretty lame. Yeah, no cover art for either one. But anyway, highly recommend both of those. All right, how about a little Muscle of Love? Give some love to the last release from the original Alice Cooper group. Pretty good album. I know this wasn't a big seller like the ones that came before it, but, you know, the band was kind of breaking apart at the seams here. But some good stuff. You know, the title track is great. Hard-Hearted Alice is exceptional. Man with the Golden Gun. Working Up a Sweat. Crazy Little Child. Teenage Lament. It's pretty strong. Kind of short, you know. Not as great as the albums that came before it, but still pretty damn good, I think. How about I'm going to go with next the concept album, From the Inside. Pretty cool. All right. Produced by David Foster, of all people, right? Good, kind of eerie, different theatrical stuff going on here. All right. Title track is great. Quiet Room, Nurse Rosetta, Millie and Billy, For Veronica's Sake, Jackknife Johnny. You know, Alice went through a lot of shit in his life, especially around this time period, you know, from like the mid-70s through the mid-80s, early 80s, you know, between the drinking and the drugs and everything like that. And he just was losing his mind. And, you know, you can read all sorts of stories about how Alice, you know, barely remembers recording a lot of these albums and stuff like that. But that was the 70s, right? It's the way it was. All right, now for me, the absolute cream of the crop. So my favorite, here we got the top 5. So I'm going to go next with School's Out. You know, title track, Public Animal number 9, Alma Mater, Looney Tune, Street Fight, Blue Turk, you know, classic early 70s Alice Cooper. Next up, Welcome to My Nightmare. All right, the first album of Alice as a solo artist, apart from the Alice Cooper group. Hard to ignore the legendary status of this one. Title track, Cold Ethel, Department of Youth, Steven, Years Ago. One of my favorite tunes of all time from Alice Cooper, The Black Widow, Devil's Food. You know, of course, sorry, got to mention Only Women Bleed, right? Because if I don't, people are going to be like, oh, you didn't mention that. The Awakening, you know, it's just, it's a great album, great concept album, just creepy as all hell. Love it. Next up, you know, in the top 3, could flip-flop at any given time, but I'm going to go Love It to Death. This is a killer. This, for me, is when the Alice Cooper group became the Alice Cooper group. All right. This is just fantastic. Again, this could rank higher. These top 3 are near and dear to me. But I think I'm pretty happy with this. You know, Caught in a Dream, I'm 18, Black Juju, Is It My Body? Great song. Hallowed Be Thy Name. I love the creepy quality of some of the songs on here, right? The Ballad of Dwight Frye. I mean, how ominous and spooky a track is that? You know, what I loved about the Alice Cooper music, Alice Cooper group music from this, you know, the music totally lived up to the image, which is what I loved. You know, everything they portrayed on stage, the music lived up to it. It was like the soundtrack to the image. Sunrise. I mean, come on, man. Long way to go. Ugh. Every song, a drop dead classic on there. All right, how about Killer coming in at number 2? Killer is Killer. Got you under my wheels. Be my lover. Halo of Flies. An unforgettable song, right? How great is Desperado? How great is that song? All right, You Drive Me Nervous. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, come on. Dead Babies. Another top 10 favorite song of mine. Lurid, creepy-ass heavy rock. Okay? Killer. Again, top to bottom, drop dead classics. All right? Doesn't get much better than these releases. It does not. Interesting story, though, before I get to my number 1, is like when I was a kid growing up and I was into Kiss and Black Sabbath and Zeppelin and Purple and Priest and Scorpions and Uriah Heep and Whitesnake and, you know, all these bands. I never listened to Alice Cooper back then. Always knew who Alice Cooper was, obviously. But for some reason, I never branched out and bought an Alice Cooper record or records. I never really, other than what I heard on the radio, never really listened to much. But always like, yeah, I should investigate Alice Cooper, but never did. Until like the mid-90s, believe it or not. Now I'm like, you know, of course I got everything he ever did, and it's like, and I'm just, I love Alice Cooper, and I'm like, what, you know, sometimes you miss certain artists or bands in your life that you for whatever reason, you just don't get into, and you discover them late, and then you kind of hit yourself in the head. It's like, why the hell wasn't I listening to Alice Cooper when I was like 15, 16 years old? No idea, but better late than never, right? All right, so my number 1, you guys know what's missing here, right? So obviously it's Billion Dollar Babies. Yeah, I don't know. For me, this is along with my Alice Cooper go-to record, even just a slightly bit more than the 2 that came before it. Hello, Hooray, okay, Elected, Raped and Freezing, the title track, Unfinished Suite, No More Mr. Nice Guy, Generation Landslide, Sick Things, Sick Things, Marianne, and I Love the Dead. I mean, just fucking amazing album. Amazing, amazing album. Hard and heavy rock, okay, but a great sense. I mean, Alice and the band always had this great way of interjecting, like, kind of like almost like Broadway or movie soundtrack themes and styles and elements into their music. There's always a good sense of pop going on there, too. But, you know, man, just kind of lurid, creepy, gory songs, hard rock songs, and just, you know, great guitar work. You know, rest in peace, Mr. Buxton. All right, always loved Alice's very different, unique vocal styles. Right, the band was great musicians. Right, just fantastic stuff. So there you have it. Yeah, geez, I can go through the whole list again, but do we really need to? Right, you know, the top ones are for me. So my top 5: number 1, Billion Dollar Babies, Killer, Love It to Death, Welcome to My Nightmare, School's Out, From the Inside, Muscle of Love. All right. Brutal Planet, Dragon Town, Goes to Hell, I'm sorry, Easy Action, Along Came a Spider, Hey Stupid, Last Temptation, Trash, Welcome to My Nightmare. All right, where do we leave off there? Raise Your Fist and Yell, Lace and Whiskey, Paranormal, Constrictor, Flush the Fashion, The Eyes of Alice Cooper, Special Forces, Dirty Diamonds, Pretties for You, Zipper, Catches Skin, and last but not least, Dada. There you have it. Alice Cooper, ranking the studio albums. Again, these are just my picks, my ranking. Yours are probably going to differ, and that's absolutely okay. So you know the drill, guys, in the comments below. List your 5 favorite Alice Cooper albums, your 10 favorite. If you want to be a fool like me and tackle the whole discography, go right ahead. I'd be interested to see what you guys pick. Remember, there's no right or wrong answers here. We all hear these differently. So, you know, let's respect everybody's opinions and give your own, right? So what do you think? Who loves Alice Cooper? Who doesn't? Right? If you don't, well, I guess you came to the wrong video. But anyway, guys, visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on the mighty YouTube all the damn time. So we'll see you probably tomorrow with some more stuff. I got more ranking the albums, studio album videos coming up. New stuff coming in. We're going to be reviewing, probably try and squeeze in some top 10 songs and things like that. So much stuff in the works, so you don't want to miss any of it. So make sure you subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Make sure you sign up for the email alerts so you don't miss a single video. And most importantly, guys, please check the playlist. All right. I get so many people every single day either posting comments or trying to send me instant messages on Facebook. Pete, have you done a show on this? Pete, will you do a show on this? Pete, I want to see you do a show on this. It's like, guys, in many cases, I already have. Go to the playlist. That's why I set them all up for you. It's so easy to find content. We got 5.5 years worth of video content, all very nicely put together there for you. So it's not hard to find stuff, right? And just keep in mind, too, I'm getting tons of people who are requesting stuff, all right? I'm not, and some people seem to take it personally that I'm not responding to them and that I'm not doing a video on something they requested. Keep in mind, I've got a very long to-do list, okay? I'll get to them when I get to them. This is not a full-time job. I work for a living, all right? I try to fit this in when I can. And in some cases, you guys are requesting bands that either I'm not into or don't have enough of their catalog or not really familiar with their music. So if I'm not covering it, there's probably a reason why. All right. Periodically, what I'll do is I'll do a show and kind of list what's on the agenda for me, and I'll tell you which ones I'm going to be working on. But I can't cover every single band and artist out there. And some of you are asking for me to do folk stuff and singer-songwriter stuff and new wave stuff. It's like, that's not what we do on this channel. I may occasionally dip outside of the realm a little bit, but for the most part, we're going to be talking about metal groups, hard rock groups, classic rock groups, prog groups, jazz fusion stuff. That's what we specialize in here. All right. So if you're asking me when I'm going to do the, the latest ranking the albums of, I don't know, Whitney Houston, it's not going to happen. All right. Okay. So anyway, see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.